Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another fascinating journey? Today, we're tackling insurance, specifically insurance in India.
Sounds complex.
It can be, but luckily, we've got some great source material to guide us. A university syllabus and some pretty in-depth excerpts.
A syllabus.
Yeah, it's for a banking and insurance course at Delhi University. Kind of gives us a peek into how commerce students in India are learning about this stuff.
So we're like students ourselves today.
Exactly. We're going to break it all down, make it digestible.
Love it. Where do we even begin with something as big as insurance?
Well, the syllabus starts with the basics, like what even is insurance? It's all about transferring risk.
Right, but it's more than just, a definition. This idea has been around forever,
Yeah.
evolving alongside, like, trade and major events.
Like, think about marine insurance, way back in the 12th, 13th century.
Pirates, shipwrecks, all that. Merchants needed a way to protect their goods. That's where marine insurance came in.
So those early traders were the original risk managers.
I guess you could say that. But it wasn't just about protecting individuals.
Right.
Insurance, at its core, is a group effort. It's like pooling resources to handle those risks we all share.
A safety net, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Our source actually quotes Regal and Miller on this. They call insurance, and I'm quoting here, a social device whereby uncertain risks of individuals may be combined in a group, making it more certain, and then creating a fund to reimburse those who experience loss.
It's fascinating how individual needs and collective responsibility come together.
Totally.
So fast forward a bit. The Great Fire of London, 1666. That really kicked fire insurance into high gear, didn't it?
Devastating event. Showed how vulnerable cities were to fire. Before that, fire insurance was mostly informal, neighbors helping each other rebuild. But after the Great Fire, you start seeing those formal fire insurance companies popping up.
Offering, more structured protection.
Exactly.
And then as the Industrial Revolution gets going, suddenly you need accident insurance.
More factories, more machines. Sadly, yeah, more accidents. That shift from farms to industry brought a whole new set of risks. And with that, a wave of innovation in insurance. It's a pattern you see over and over. Society changes, insurance adapts.
Okay, so we've got the historical context, but what about the legal side of things in India today? Our source mentions two big ones, the Indian Contract Act of 1872 and the Insurance Act of 1938.
The Contract Act is interesting. It brings up this principle of indemnity. You might not think of it right away with insurance, but it means you can't actually profit from a claim.
Oh, right, you're just covered for the loss itself, not...
Doing yacht shopping with your house fire payout.
Exactly.
It reinforces that insurance is about getting you back to where you were before the loss, not getting the bonus. Then you've got the Insurance Act. That one gets into those core principles of the insurer and insured relationship. Things like insurable interest. Basically, you can only insure something if you'd actually suffer a financial loss from it being damaged or destroyed.
So I can't, insure my neighbor's car hoping it'll get stolen.
Precisely. You need a real stake in what you're insuring. It prevents that moral hazard, where people might be tempted to, cause the damage on purpose if they could profit.
Wow, I bet there are some wild cases out there based on that.
Oh, I'm sure. It's a reminder that insurance isn't just numbers on a page. It's about understanding messy situations and applying these principles fairly.
Fairness, playing by the rules. That makes me think of the IRDAI, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India.
Ah, yes, the watchdog of the insurance world. The IRDAI was established back in 2000 based on the Malhotra Committee report. They really emphasized the need for a strong, independent regulator, especially after that 2008 financial crisis. Everyone saw how important good regulation is.
So what exactly does the IRDAI do?
Lots. Mainly, they protect policyholders, making sure everyone's treated fairly, policies are clear, and complaints are handled properly.
So if I have an issue with my insurer, I go straight to them.
You got it. They keep an eye on the whole industry, make sure everyone's acting ethically and responsibly. They also promote competition, which, honestly, is great for consumers.
More competition, better prices for us. I like the sound of that. But before we get lost in the specifics of all the different types of insurance out there...
We need to take a step back.
Yeah. Big picture time. We've got those two main branches, life insurance and general insurance.
Our syllabus makes that distinction clear. And it's a good starting point for understanding all the options out there.
For sure. Life insurance is, well, it's in the name, right? Dealing with what happens financially when
someone passes away.
Yeah.
It's about providing that financial security for loved ones.
Making sure they're taken care of.
Exactly. And then you've got general insurance, which is a much broader category. Covers all sorts of things that could impact our lives and belongings. Car accidents, fires, travel mishaps.
It's like a safety net for all the unpredictable things life throws at us.
Precisely. So you've got these two main categories. But within each, there's a whole world of different types of insurance, each one designed to meet specific needs.
And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. We're going to explore all those different flavors, learn how they work, what they cover, and how they can help us navigate this crazy thing called life.
I'm ready when you are. It's interesting how those two categories, life and general insurance, they really represent different ways of thinking about the future.
How so?
Well, life insurance, it's all about that long-term planning, thinking about your family, your loved ones, making sure they're financially secure even when you're...
When you're gone, yeah.
Right. It's about leaving a legacy.
Whereas general insurance, it's more about dealing with the right now, the
Yeah,
stuff that could disrupt our lives today.
exactly. Those unexpected bumps in the road. So let's dig into some of those specific types, shall we? Our source material goes into a lot of detail, especially on the life insurance side.
Yeah, there are so many variations.
It just goes to show how much life insurance has evolved to meet people's needs. You know, different goals, different situations. Take term insurance, for example.
Term insurance.
It's often seen as the simplest type of life insurance. You pick a term, like 10, 20, 30 years, pay your premiums for that period. And if you pass away during that term, your beneficiaries get the payout.
Straightforward, no frills.
Exactly. It's like a pure bet on life expectancy in a way, which is why it's often used by businesses, something called key person insurance.
What's that?
Well, imagine a startup company. They've got this incredible founder, total visionary. But what if something happens to that person? The whole company could go under.
So term insurance helps protect the business in that situation.
Exactly. It's like a financial cushion to help them get through a difficult time.
Interesting. So that's term insurance, all about protection. But what about people who want to, like, build savings at the same time?
That's where endowment policies come in. They're kind of a hybrid. You get the insurance coverage plus a savings component, pay premiums for a set term, and if you live past that, you
Yep.
get a maturity benefit.
So you get paid either way, whether you live or die.
Pretty much. It's a popular choice for people who want to build up some savings while also making sure their family is protected. Our source even mentions things like educational endowment policies,
What's that for?
specifically designed to help fund a child's education.
Huh, that's smart. So many different ways to use insurance. Speaking of which, our syllabus also talks about ULIPs, unit-linked insurance plans. I gotta be honest, those always confuse me a bit.
They can seem complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's insurance combined with investment. Part of your premium goes to life insurance, and the rest gets invested. Gives you a chance to grow your wealth over time.
So it's like a way to get into investing while still having that insurance safety net.
Yeah, you could say that. But of course, with investments comes risk. The value can go up or down, depending on how the markets are doing.
So ULIPs are more for people comfortable with that risk, right?
Exactly. People with a longer-term outlook. And then, for those who want that lifelong protection, there's whole life insurance.
Ah, whole life. What's that all about?
Well, it does exactly what it says on the tin, coverage for your entire life.
Yeah.
And often, it builds up a cash value over time.
Like a savings account almost.
Kind of, yeah. You can even borrow against it sometimes.
Sure.
It's like having a financial safety net that's always there. But of course, that kind of coverage comes at a price.
The premiums must be higher, right?
They are, yeah. You're paying for that lifelong guarantee. But for some people, that peace of mind is worth it, knowing you're covered no matter what.
It really depends on your individual needs and circumstances, I guess.
Exactly. But let's not forget about general insurance. That's a whole other world to explore.
Oh, yeah. The insurance that covers, well, everything else. I feel like that's where things get really relevant to our daily lives.
Right. So where should we start?
Well, our source material mentions travel insurance, and with everyone traveling more these days.
That's definitely a big one. It's like that safety net for when you're far from home.
Yeah, medical emergencies, lost luggage, even stuff like natural disasters.
Things you don't want to think about on vacation, but better to be prepared.
I've heard stories of people stuck with huge medical bills overseas because they didn't have travel insurance.
It's a risk not worth taking, especially when the premiums are pretty affordable. But it's not just about protecting yourself physically. There's also liability insurance.
Liability insurance, what's that all about?
It's about protecting yourself financially if you're held responsible for someone else's injury or property damage.
So, like, if someone slips and falls on my property and decides to sue,
That's a classic example.
Hmm.
Or imagine you run a business and something goes wrong, causing a client to lose money. Liability insurance can help protect you from those kinds of lawsuits.
It's like peace of mind in a world where anyone can sue for anything.
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
then there's the old standby fire insurance. That one's been around forever.
That's pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah.
Protecting your home or business from fire damage.
Exactly. Covers not just the building itself, but also what's inside. Furniture, equipment, all that.
It's a good reminder that insurance isn't just about the structure, but also all the valuable things we keep in them.
Right. And then before we move on, got to mention marine insurance.
Back to the high seas.
It's still relevant today. All that stuff transported by sea needs protection. Shipwrecks, piracy, cargo damage.
It's amazing how insurance has adapted over time, from ancient trade routes to, well,
To protecting businesses from cyber attacks today. It's
yeah.
always evolving.
And speaking of evolving, what about the future of insurance in India? What are the big trends, the challenges? That feels like a whole other conversation.
It is a perfect way to ramp up our deep dive.
All right, so we've covered a ton about insurance, from the history, the different types, how it works in India.
And it's not all about the past,
Right.
right?
What about the future? What's changing in the Indian insurance landscape?
Well, one of the biggest things is technology. That whole insurtech wave is hitting India too.
Insurtech.
Yeah, all that stuff, AI, big data, even blockchain. It's changing how insurance is sold, how risk is assessed, even how claims are processed.
So, like, instead of dealing with an agent,
You might just go online. Lots of platforms popping up using algorithms to figure out your risk, give you personalized quotes. No more paperwork.
that does sound a lot easier, especially for, like, younger people who are used to doing everything online.
Exactly. And it's not just about convenience. InsurTech could help close that insurance gap.
The what?
The gap between people who have insurance and those who don't. It's a big problem in India, especially in rural areas. But mobile-based platforms could make insurance way more accessible.
So, tech is making insurance more efficient, reaching more people. Sounds pretty good so far.
It does. But there are challenges too.
Of course. What kind of challenges?
Data privacy is a big one. All these platforms are collecting tons of personal info. Making sure that data is protected, used responsibly, that's huge.
Yeah, it's always a trade-off, isn't it? Convenience versus privacy. Something we're dealing with everywhere these days. Anything else keeping the insurance folks up at night?
Oh yeah, climate change.
Yeah.
It's a massive challenge, especially for a country like India. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, that creates all sorts of risks. The industry needs to figure out how to adapt.
So it's not just about individual policies anymore. It's like insurance has to think about the big picture, how to manage risk on a societal level.
Exactly. Luckily, the IRDAI is taking this seriously. They're encouraging insurers to develop new products to deal with climate change risks. Things like parametric insurance.
Parametric insurance, never heard of that.
It's a bit different. Payouts aren't based on the actual damage you suffer. They're triggered by specific events, like if rainfall exceeds a certain threshold, or if there's a drought.
So it's like more proactive.
Exactly. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole deep dive. Insurance isn't static. It's constantly evolving, adapting to new challenges.
Yeah.
And as we wrap things up here, I think that's a key takeaway for our listeners.
Totally agree. Any other parting wisdom for our deep divers out there?
I'd say remember that insurance isn't just a financial product. It's a tool, a way to manage risk, protect yourself, your family, your business.
It's about understanding the risks we face, both personally and as a society.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Do your research. Find the insurance solutions that work for you.
Excellent advice. All right, deep divers, that's a wrap on this exploration of insurance in India. Hopefully you're leaving with a better understanding of how it all works, and maybe even some ideas about what kind of coverage you need. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring.
And stay insured.
Couldn't have said it better myself.